Silverstone, the ultimate British festival with historic motorsport at its very heart. Over 1,000 entries competing in 20 races across 3 days. This really is the best of motorsport from pre-war right up until current day.
But it's not just all on the track. There's over 100,000 attendees at this event, and there's a ton of off-track entertainment, enough for the whole family. But for me, a car guy, it's all about watching the historic cars battle it out on that piece of tarmac. We're also going the very best of British.
Well, come on then, what are you waiting for?
Oh, okay.
Well, what an honour it is to be standing among so many beautiful classic sports cars, including, of course, the iconic TWR Jaguars, all part of the Group C category started by the FIA in 1982, which started the golden age of endurance racing. And this year marks the 40th anniversary since the first World Endurance race at Silverstone. And who better to speak to than this living Le Mans legend?
Now, it's a real thrill for me to introduce the next guest. This is a 5 times winner of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It's Mr. Derek Bell, MBE. And so, Silverstone, obviously home of British motorsport. What's this location represent to you?
Well, it's my home track, really, as far as international racing is concerned, and it's the first place we ever drove one of these. And back in 1982, and then we went on to win Le Mans with that car 2 months later. So, pretty special, really.
I look back at that era, and back then there was a bit of flamboyance about it.
Well, there was. I mean, you drink what you like and do what you like, as long
Careful,
as
this is a family show.
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean. Drink milk, water, all those sort of things. But and it was just that we did what we wanted to, and we didn't get paid the money. I mean, I got £500 for a Grand Prix in 1968, and they now get £50,000.
And actually, you're doing a bit of driving today.
Yes,
right?
I am. Yes.
Which car are you in?
That one right there.
This actual one here?
Very handy that it's there.
Yeah, like, it's almost like we planned that.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is this car? Give us the 30
So this
summary.
is a Porsche 962. This was built in around about 1988. It was towards the end of the year.
Wow. Well, I know because over there I can see you're being summoned to get ready, put a race suit on.
Yes.
Hopefully a helmet, and go and parade this car, because I know there's loads of people here that are waiting to see it. Derek, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Derek Bell.
The highly competitive, proper sports racing cars built before 1961 take to the track for the MRL Royal Automobile Club Woodcock Trophy, and in honour of one of the greats of motorsport, the Stirling Moss Trophy.
Then it's time to indulge ourselves in all things Formula One and a very special lineup of all Sir Lewis Hamilton's title-winning cars.
Stepping back to the 60s through to the 90s, it's the Tony Drum Memorial Trophy for MRL historic touring cars that raced in the British and European Car Championships.
Team Extreme takes over the adrenaline zone as some of the best extreme sport riders astound the crowd.
From quick tricks to endurance racing, it's our longest contest of the weekend as classic GT cars battle it out for the international trophy.
It's been 60 years since James Bond hit our screens, but for the first time ever, we have a very special car driven by 007 himself up for grabs.
We're celebrating the single-seaters of the 60s and 70s with the historic Formula 2.
Now, 2 years ago, sadly, we lost one of the biggest names in Formula One, Sir Stirling Moss, known for being such an instinctive driver and also one of the best drivers to have never clinched that World Championship title. He was also the last surviving driver to have raced in the first Silverstone race back in 1948, just 2 weeks after his 19th birthday. What an experience that must have been. So in his honour, let's go to the highlights of the MRL Royal Automobile Club Woodcock Trophy and Stirling Moss Trophy.
Well, let's take a look at our mammoth grid, and if we focus at the front, the Tejero Cox Jag of Cottingham and Stanley starts on front ahead of the enormous Warden Smith Lister Nobly. The starter gives a signal and we are underway for the Woodcote and Stirling Moss Trophies race. 53 1950s sports cars charging down towards the first corner here. Huge engines and tiny engines alike, big and little. The smaller Lotuses, nimbler, better under braking, probably as good in the corners, even if they're outgunned down the straight. So this is a real battle of Davids and Goliaths. Already, though, you can see a microcosm of this race. The Lister Tagero, the Lister Nobly first and second, but the two white cars behind, the Lotus 15s, smaller engines, oh, and trouble behind as we get a couple of cars making contact and spinning out of the loop. Peter Radcliffe and at least one other car out of the race on the first lap. But here we go. So the car out front, let's just reset our field. So this is James Cottingham and Harvey Stanley. They're sharing the car. Cottingham started, and it's in the colours of a Curiacos. Now there's another car. That's an Allard J2. But back to our race leader then. So this is the John Tagero designed Jag, which has got, as you can see, a very much more sort of modern-looking aerodynamic look.
It looked in that last shot as though there was only one Lotus, but I think in fact there is only one Lotus, yes.
Your eyes did not deceive you, so we have lost
Michael Gans,
yeah,
I think,
we have lost
yeah.
Gans, haven't we? Because those little black tabs on the front there is Michael Gans, not going as fast as he would like. And off into the gravel is an Aston. And 53, that's the DB2 of David Reed and Peter Snowden.
Sadly, Michael Gans, number 15 in the Lotus 15, coming into the pit lane.
Meanwhile, the race continues though, so Chris Ward leads in the Lister Nobly, James Cottingham in second place in the Tagero Jag, and in third place, Roger Wills. Right, so as the safety car comes down towards Copse Corner, the DB2 will leave the gravel trap. Now, he's got two wheels on terra firma, and that is really going to help. There you go, our Aston Martin does head off. Oh, two more cars.
Two more,
so okay, well, the safety car is going to stay out a little longer, so I'm not sure what happened there, but clearly three cars involved. Royal Automobile Club Woodcote Trophy and Stirling Moss Trophy back underway after the red flag stoppage. We have green flag racing once more, and it is again the Tagero Jag and the Lister Nobly that battle for supremacy. The white car of Roger Wills right behind the little Lotus 15. So there is James Cottingham, the race leader, and again that very distinctive Curiacos colour. Whoa!
Ooh. And we're looking now at the leader of the other race within this race, the Woodcote Trophy for cars not quite as quick as the Stirling Moss Trophy cars, so we don't see them in the overall lead.
There is the Tagero Jag in second place, and right behind him now is Ollie Hancock. Is that right? Wow, goodness me, look how close he is now. Suddenly has closed dramatically. Ollie Hancock all over the back of Harvey Stanley. This is for second place. It is the last lap of the race. Ollie Hancock looking to go up the inside. He's showing his nose, he's showing his nose. He didn't put it in there in the gap where it wasn't going to fit, but now he does, has a lunge to the inside. It's nice and slow there. He telegraphed the move. Well, there's a tiny little touch there with Harvey Stanley. Rush into Maggots and Beckett's. He's got slower traffic in front, coming back on 104 Healy that's been off on the grass. Suddenly the chance for Harvey Stanley maybe to close in. Stanley coming onto the hanger straight with a head of steam. Roger Wills is going to win this one. He will win the Stirling Moss Trophy. Roger Wills punches the air. The Lotus 15 claims victory.
So this is the battle for the second part of this race. They are in totally distinct races.
Stretton just in front, and he's going to keep his nose in front. The start-finish line is so close here to the final corner. Martin Stretton wins the Woodcote Trophy. Confirmation of the result. Roger Wills winning overall and taking the Stirling Moss Trophy ahead of John Spears, Ollie Hancock, and James Cottingham and Harvey Stanley finishing in third place.
The most decorated Formula One racing legend is, of course, Sir Lewis Hamilton. 103 wins, 103 pole positions and 183 podiums. And, of course, 7 championships joint with Michael Schumacher. So with that in mind, we thought we'd add another world first in his name. For the first time ever in history, we have all 7 of Lewis Hamilton's championship winning cars here under one roof. Feast your eyes on that. And I'm off to meet a man who knows a thing or two about these cars. Well, I'm delighted to say that joining me now is Stuart Pringle, Managing Director of the Silverstone Circuit, and I've got to say, wow, what a spectacle, a way to bring, for the very first time in history, all 7 cars to celebrate a man that's smashed all the records. What a way to do it.
We are very pleased that we've managed to get all 7 cars of Sir Lewis's World Championships together. It's not been done before, as you say. Entirely appropriate it should be here at Silverstone, because this is the circuit that he's dominated on. It's his home circuit. He's built this huge fan base. This period of domination of Lewis Hamilton, he really has made the Formula 1 British Grand Prix electric every year. And it's right and proper that we celebrate them this weekend here at this amazing event, the Classic.
Exactly, and you can already see that there's sort of fans here, and I don't think you have to be a real fanatic to appreciate just how special that this is to see. What's the atmosphere been like today?
Everybody really looks forward to the Classic. It's different to Formula 1. You know, it's more relaxed. It would be really intense if we were here, if we had this display at F1, but we deliberately wanted it here at the Classic. It help attract people who perhaps think that motorsport is only Formula 1, and we want to show them that there's more to life.
Obviously, each one of these cars has their own story. My personal favourite is the 2020, because the fact that he managed to win the British Grand Prix with a puncher is still quite remarkable. Do you have any stories that, you
Well, I mean, that was
some of these cars?
That was very special. But for me, it's the 2008 car. It absolutely poured down. It was the wettest thing I can remember. And watched lap after lap as this guy just took totally different lines, a completely different line that only someone with intricate knowledge of Silverstone would know where the grip in the wet was. And Lewis came home to win by over a minute from the second place car. I mean, when do you win by over a minute in Formula 1?
Stuart, thank you very much, and it's been a real pleasure getting to know the Classic, and we've got lots more to see.
Thank you, Nikki.
Now, from one Formula 1 legend to another, Mr. Damon Hill. Now, obviously, Silverstone, special place for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been coming here since I was born, virtually, so going back a long way, early 1960s. And I won the Grand Prix here as well, so I'm very happy about that.
And what's it like being at the Silverstone Classic, a very different event?
Well, it sounds exactly like it used to in the 1960s.
Right, oh, loud.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it always was, ringing to the sounds of these cars. And that's what it's going to be doing all weekend, and so it's a great event. It's a relaxed event which people can come and saunter around and take their time. There's no one sort of main race, not like a Grand Prix when it all builds up to one Grand Prix and then everyone goes home. So you can come up here and spend the whole day wandering around, looking at cars, taking pictures and stuff like that.
Right, well, thanks for taking a moment. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you very much.
It's good to see you here.
Right.
At the Classic Silverstone, there's tons of options for entertainment. There's unrivaled paddock access, and if you want to, you can even take a seat in the grandstand and watch the racing. Now, after the break is the highlights of the Tony Drum Memorial Trophy. That's for touring cars between 1966 and 1990. Now, I'm going to take a seat on that.
One of my favourite areas of the Classic has to be the shift and drift zone, full of classic rally cars doing live demos and the world-famous stunt driver Terry Grant breaking the boundaries between what is possible between man and machine. Wish me luck. Let's do this. Woo-hoo! Terry, you are ridiculous. Okay. Oh dear. Thought that was going to be cool and calm and elegant.
You're all right.
Definitely
Your
got my
hair's
heart rate going.
a bit fluffed up.
Yeah. For those that may not know, the infamous stunt driver Terry Grant. Terry, you have so many records to your name, don't you?
Yeah, I can't. Guinness World Records about 23-ish, something like
Can't
that.
even remember how many
No,
records
I
you've
can't
got. I
remember.
love that.
Yeah, more than one anyway.
So what are you doing to show off
Yeah.
your stunts here today?
Yeah, so I've got the amazing old bridge part of the track here at Silverstone, which is fantastic because when I was a racing driver, this was my favourite part of the track. So it's really quite cool that I'm getting to do my shows here. Literally 2 shows a day, entertaining the public, just being crazy, being me, being stupid, doing lots of donuts, smoke, noise.
You have the best fun in the world.
Yeah, some days I do, yes.
Having fun, entertaining the crowd. Well, we love watching you perform, laying down plenty of rubber, and I mean, you know, just the smell from the burning rubber is stunning in itself. So, good luck for the rest of the weekend.
Yeah,
always a pleasure. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to go and have. I think it's time for a gin and tonic, to be honest.
Yeah, cup of tea.
Oh, is tea? Is that going to settle my nerves?
Cup of tea.
All right, cup of tea.
Let's take a look at our grid then. After a fraught qualifying for some, Andy Middlehurst produced the fastest laps in his Nissan Skyline ahead of the Sierra RS 500 of Thomas and Lockie. David Tomlin in a similar Cosy starts in 3rd, and a similar car for Paul Hensley in 4th. Race 3 of the Silverstone Classic, the Tony John Memorial Trophy for MRL Historic Touring Cars, gets underway with Skyline versus Sierra RS 500 as the story in the lead, half dozen, and it is the green Nissan Skyline of Andy Middlehurst that takes control at the start, but there is contact immediately from the outside of the front row, and that is the end of the race, I'm afraid, for car number 10, and Julian Thomas out of the car immediately. Well, 3 cars have come into the pit lane change for 2nd place as the blue Calsonic car moves up into 2nd. Rick Wood goes through ahead of Andy Middlehurst, not on the timing screen, but again on the eyeball, but he outbrakes himself going down into Brooklands. Goes past Middlehurst, who whips the cape out of the way, lets him go through, and then cuts back as he runs out wide. So that car blowing a lot of oil, and unfortunately a long way from home. He needs to pull off as early as he can. He's trying to get off the racing line as the leaders come through. Rick Wood in the blue Skyline and the green Skyline of Andy Middlehurst, going by a group of Cortinas and one of the Rover SD1s, some of the V8 Rovers from the Group 1.5 early Group A era of British touring cars before we got into 2-litre Super Touring. The Bastos Volvo gets in the way of Rick Wood, doesn't get in the way of Rick Wood. Rick Wood thought he'd be able to go inside the Volvo, but the Volvo driver hugging the inside line, and so I'm not sure, I think John Young started that, wasn't it? And James Young waiting to take over, so John hugging the inside line, trying to stay out of the way. Unfortunately, Rick wanted to go inside, didn't get through, so there is a change of lead, but Rick Wood has been quicker than Andy Middlehurst. Into the pits comes Rick Wood. Alex Brundle at the wheel of the number 7 Capri that he shares with Gary Pearson, and they will be sharing Brundle's own Ford Mustang, the Brustang, if you like, later on in the meeting.
Oh, that's the Broadspeed car parked up, so that's Chris Ward, I'm afraid.
Yes.
A car that I was really tipping for the top has pulled off.
That's twice in 2 races. You're going to have to stop mentioning friends and family. And Martin Stretton's car has boiled. Well, Stretton clearly was worried about more than just a loose bonnet. That is 341, the Balfe and Ashton car. Sean Balfe is at the wheel of that. They go either side. Brundle with the inside line. Doesn't have the traction. The long way round there for Simon Garrard worked, who is able to keep the momentum up. He's got a 70s BMW and a 90s Cavalier jockeying for position in front. Where does he go? Is there room on the inside? There's not. He's on the inside. Brundle's going the long way round the outside, and he has the inside line into Luffield, and that will tighten. The BMW can't hold the line, drifts out wide. This is going the way of Brundle in the number 7 white and blue Capri, and the Cavalier stays well out of the way. So does the Opel Commodore GSE on the outside, and Brundle's up to 3rd. Made really good use of traffic there, and that's the razor sharp instincts of a modern prototype race driver. Here we go, looks to the inside again, and it's a drag race. If this was the last line, Brundle would get it at the line. There's not quite enough room for the Nissan to come past, but as the Cosworth G engine wails at the top of its rev range, the turbo boost kicks in and the Nissan sweeps around the outside to go back to third. And there is the second place car of Rick Wood. So the battle that was for third is now the battle for second. Final lap for the race leader. Final lap for Simon Garrett in second place, and he is yet to come across the line actually, so he's a long way behind. It's only going to be mechanical carnage that robs the green Nissan that started from pole of victory here, and actually it's looked like the class of the field pretty much all the way through. Andy Middlehurst is going to win this race. He takes victory in the Tony John Memorial Trophy. That was a great race from the team for that car, and a very good run out front as well from Andy Middlehurst, claiming victory ahead of Simon Garrett, with Gary Pearson and Alex Brundle in third and winning their class.
Now, some of the events at the Silverstone Classic aren't just limited to 4 wheels. There's pretty much something for everyone, including this. Team Extreme, some of the country's leading sports talent. There's no way I'm doing this. It looks pretty reckless. And this is Kieran Riley, a professional BMX rider. Kieran, nice to meet you, buddy.
Nice to meet you. How are
So
you?
tell me a bit about the sport. I'm completely alien when it comes to BMXs.
So BMX freestyle is what I do, so I'm not doing the race and I ride more ramps, do tricks. The sport's recently grown massively, having been put in the Olympics. It's been seen more as a sport now than something a bit more urban. So having that grew the sport massively. We've got like more of a judging criteria, more events, and the riders have become more like athletes, so it's really helped for freestyle.
There's a coaching session going on now, right? So these kids, you know, because they look up to you. I've seen them. You're a bit of a superstar in this world.
It's crazy to me because there's still BMX riders that I still look up to like that, you know what I mean? So I'm still definitely not used to having kids like be like that or have a kid ask for a photo, because I feel like it was only a few years ago that I was that kid going asking people for photos. So pretty amazing, and then to have the coaching opportunity, like there's a lot of kids in this crowd that haven't seen BMX freestyle before, and so I've had a lot of kids the last couple of days, we've coached them, they've had a little try, and you hear them already running over their parents asking for a bike, which to us is amazing, you know what I mean? We want kids to get into the sport, that's how the sport's going to grow and keep growing. For the parents it's not as good because they've got to go and fork out and get a bike.
Let's go buy a bike.
That's on their back.
All right, well, it's been a real pleasure, buddy, and I wish you all the very best. I'll be watching you intensely. Olympian.
Hello and welcome back to the Classic here at Silverstone. We're celebrating the very best of British is just our cup of tea. Now this year marks the 100th birthday of this old beauty, the Austin 7, which paved the way to freedom on the open roads. Now, speaking of antiques, it's time to catch up with our much loved wheeler dealers.
Now this show's great for bumping into people, and I've just bumped into my old colleague and close friend, Mr. Mike Brewer.
How are you, fella?
Yeah, good. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad at all. How good is this?
I know. So what are the standout Silverstone Classic moments for you?
Being here. I mean, look at it. We're on hallowed turf, the premier Formula One circuit anywhere on the planet. We've got classic cars surrounded by racing cars. Does it get much better for a petrol head?
And what have you been up to then this weekend?
This weekend we've got the car clinics, which is over at the live stage. I've been running the car clinics for the last sort of 7 or 8 years here. They're a very popular feature. It's where we bring some cars up and we talk about them in general, about what the market is for that car, what to look out for when you're buying one, what to look out for when you're selling one. This year we've turned it up a little notch because we brought in the wheeler dealer cars, some of the cars that we worked on and some of the cars that me and Elvis have been working on wheeler dealers, and we're going to be talking to their owners about their ownership of those cars and what it means to them.
Right, and any standout moments for you at the show?
Yeah, here, bumping into you, of course, Anne. I'm always going to say that. Yes, the free coffee that I get backstage.
No, come on, what's the standout car, mate?
Yeah, I have seen quite a few cars spread around here. I mean, we've just been talking about the Cobras here. We've got people that have bought cars that's inspired them to start their own businesses purely off the back of buying a car for a passion. My other TV husband, my wingman.
So tell me, Silverstone Classic, how's it standing out for you?
Oh, it's so good. It's such an amazing place. Shows like this, and where you get to meet the people on the other side of the screen.
Yeah.
You don't see your audience. You're looking down the lens of the camera, but here they are, and it's wonderful to meet them, get some feedback, get some interaction. I love it.
And are you guys going to spend any time in the auction? I know you might.
I'd like to put my hand up in the auction. It's always good.
Michelle's told me to spend my time keeping him out of the auction.
There you go.
Oh, right, yeah. Stop spending money.
Yeah.
Well, I know you guys are busy, so it's so great to have you.
And you, buddy. And you. Thank you very much.
Superb work.
All right.
Guys.
What we love about the Classic is that it's open to anyone who is fast on track. And I'm very excited to now introduce the Racing Reverend. What a name, also known as Simon Butler. But I've got to ask you, where did the name come from?
So I'm a reverend in the Church of England, and I'm a racer. So Racing Reverend kind of works.
What came first, racing or being a reverend?
Racing first,
Okay, so that's
30
the
years
true love.
racing,
Wow.
17 years vicaring.
Fantastic. Which do you prefer? You don't have to answer that.
Depends who's watching.
Well, so talk to me, what are you driving and where does the passion for racing come from?
So we're racing a 63 Lotus Elan, bright
Lovely.
orange, it's not subtle. We kind of go in for big, vibrant cars with a really, really interesting grid. So everything from Cobras to E-Types to Elans, MGBs, so a real mixture of stuff.
And Simon, what are the plans for you next? What's happening next year?
So big plans for us, we're going to do the Le Mans 24 Hours, which is a kind of lifetime ambition, I guess
cool.
something every driver dreams of, and we're preparing for that this season in the Le Mans Cup. And hopefully on the grid for 24 hours.
That's really exciting. Well, good luck for the race. We won't take up any more of your time, so I know you've just got to rush off and get into the car. So all the best.
Thank you.
Good luck, Simon. Fingers crossed for our Racing Reverend, and let's see how he gets on in the pre-1966 GT cars in the International Trophy.
Ready to go racing here for the International Trophy for pre-66 Classic GT cars. 65 cars start to stream across the line. 50 minutes to go. There'll still be 49 minutes on the clock before the last of them even take the start. This is like the start of the London Marathon. There are so many of them already. On the inside comes the Cobra Daytona, Julian Thomas, who shares with Callum Lockie as he does so often, has the outside line now though as they get to the loop, and John Davidson cuts back underneath him, but he runs out wide. Thomas knew what was going on there. It's a great bit of racing. He allowed the door to remain open on the inside. Now then, here's a David versus Goliath. Lotus Elan versus the Corvette Stingray, and that pale blue car is the car starting. If it's got a black helmet, it's Marco Attard. We were told he was starting. That's Chris Hoy will take over later. I think Sir Chris was enjoying, if that's the right word, the prospect of trying to wrestle this thing around.
Oh, another G4.
Now that's the Holstead and Eagling car that qualified in 4th place. It is going backwards, and that is now literally going backwards. They've just been passed, or had just been passed for 13th place.
Oh, and Louis Bracey spins.
Well, try not to do that when you're commuting to work on the M40, but yes, it just goes to show that the car, all these cars are being driven right on the fine edge of balance. Marco Attard comes to a halt in the Corvette, and the team helpers will go in. They're not fixing anything in the car. What they're doing is getting ready to fix the belts for the driver. And if you think, well, that's just, you know, mollycoddling them, you have not sat in a competition seat with a hands device and a helmet on. Where on earth are we? What on earth has gone on? It's all changed at the front of the field. Oh, as the Hairy Canary has a looping spin to draw our attention away from trying to figure out who's where.
Now down the hangar straight, and we can see all the leading 4 cars in one shot here as they come down towards us, passing the little red Elan.
Who sensibly stays out of the way and lets them thunder by.
And into Stowe Corner, a change of position if Callum Lockie can hold that position on the inside of Mike Whittaker. Mike Whittaker will try to come back at him as they go down into the Vale and into the left-hander at Club Corner, which leads into the much tighter right, but Callum Lockie's got that one sorted, so that is a move up into 3rd place. Lockie looking to go through late on the brakes, up the inside. So Callum Lockie has got second place away from John Davison. Going up now towards the left-hander. Davison hasn't given up. He's going wide in. He'll come tight out, but I don't think he's going to get back past Callum Lockie. So it's Jaguar leading.
And here comes Callum Lockie, he's looking for the lead, he's got the inside run through Luffield. Now, where do the back markers go? Who's going to benefit from this? Callum is determined to go inside, he's got the lead, he's in front, goes by the E-Type, goes by the Elan, puts 2 more cars between himself and the E-Type, and Callum Lockie leads again in the Cobra Daytona Coupe.
And a good moment to mention, a few laps ago now, but Chris Hoy has actually set the fastest lap in that car, so quicker than Marco Attard, who's Chris Hoy is an ex-British GT driver, so good on Chris Hoy.
So Chris Hoy will stay out on the racing line. That's always what a quicker driver would hope for from a car he's coming up behind. If you stay on the racing line, they know where you're going. If you venture off it, then nobody's got a clue. Well, it is the final lap, so we should not finish under safety car, but the yellow flags will be flying at the final corner, which means that if James Dodd is going to do anything, he needs to do it in a big hurry. James Dodd is so close in the E-Type that any mistake here in traffic, a half spin for Callum Lockie on the last lap would be disaster. The E-Type would snatch it, but he's too experienced, I think, too good a campaigner, Callum Lockie. And the checkered flag awaits at the end of this 50-minute encounter. The car that started on pole position was not to disappoint us. Julian Thomas and Callum Lockie coming through in the Daytona Coupe to claim victory in the International Trophy. Results for the International Trophy for classic GT cars here at Silverstone. The pre-66 encounter was won by Julian Thomas and Callum Lockie, who started from pole position. A fantastic 50-minute race for all of our drivers and teams.
Everyone's been enjoying 3 days of festival fun, and as the sun sets and the cars roll back into the pit lane, the fun isn't over yet. In fact, it is just beginning. So much music and entertainment happening here at the Classic, starting with these guys, Sister Sledge. Always welcome to the Classic. Happening so good.
We were so excited.
Very excited to be here. And what's it like performing in front of a British crowd? They, you know,
the best.
Like, yeah.
So much fun. They're so energetic, right? The energy is always high. It's so much fun.
And have you had the chance to kind of look around the Classic? I mean, I know you've probably been
peeking through the gate,
watching
the cars fly by. Yeah. It's been really exciting. I've never been to a car race before. This is my first one.
Oh, so now you've had
nice
a little
rides
taste
out there.
of motorsport.
Now we have a need for speed.
I
don't know.
Well, guys, I won't keep you any longer because I know you've got a big crowd who are super excited to hear you perform. So enjoy it. Thank you again for doing it. Thank you. It's a pleasure, everyone, here at the Classic.
Now join us after the break as we go all Hollywood, care of a friend of ours called James Bond. Also, we have an array of races on the track from the historic Sports Car Club, including Formula 2 from the 1960s and 70s. See you shortly. Now, welcome back to the Classic as we experience a first here at Silverstone. Now, 60 years ago, the iconic British film James Bond launched onto the silver screens. And now, 25 movies later, it's become one of the longest-running film franchises of all time. Now, one thing that's on people's minds before the launch of a new film, and it's certainly something I'm interested in, is what car will James Bond be driving? In the latest 007 blockbuster, No Time to Die, James Bond was played by Daniel Craig. Now, there's a particular car chase scene in that movie based in Italy where this very Aston Martin DB5 stunt car was used. And get this, you can buy it. This car goes to auction. You could own a James Bond car with machine guns. Come on, James Bond's car. I'm joined by Adrian Hume-Sayer from Christie's Auction House. Now, first question, are you a Bond fan?
Absolutely.
Right, you've got to be a Bond fan.
How can you not be?
But so why now? Why are these cars for sale?
60th anniversary of James Bond on screen with Eon Productions. Eon have organised this amazing auction, all for charity. This is the only time that you will see all of these cars associated with the film in one place. And one of the special things about the sale is, apart from the fact that it's supporting so many amazing causes, we're hoping to raise sort of £3 to £5 million, maybe a bit more, for all of these fantastic causes. But the last 6 lots of the live sale is one lot representing each of the 6 actors who played Bond over the 6 decades. And they, if they're still with us, they have nominated the charity personally that those lots have been sold for. And where they're no longer with us, their family or estate have nominated the charity.
Now, I found some behind-the-scenes people from the movie. This is Neil, Paul and Martin. So you guys are stunt riders.
Yeah.
And tell us a bit about what that involves.
Well, obviously we did a majority of the motorbike stunts in the film, and we were like the bad guys, and then eventually I turned into the good guy for a bit.
So you played Daniel Craig?
Yeah.
How do you compare physically to Mr. Craig?
On a bike, very similar.
Obviously,
I haven't got the looks. But,
makeup was good though.
Yeah, makeup was really good.
What is it about the Bond franchise that gets people?
I just think it's because it's been going so long, everybody at different age groups has got an interest in it. Everybody knows a James Bond film from whatever era they were living in.
Right, and why is it people are fascinated with the car association with James Bond?
I think it's obviously iconic. It's like Martin said, that from whatever era, as a kid growing up that spans over 50, 60 years, there's always a vehicle that is synonymous with Bond that can be seen here today.
Well, it's great. I mean, I really enjoyed the last movie. Thank you so much for your contributions. Good luck if you do get the next Bond.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Wow, now that is an auction not to be missed, but first let's get back out on track to see some of the historic single-seater race cars built between 1967 and 1978. Now, this was a decade where Formula 2 was a real testbed, a proving ground for future big Formula 1 names. So let's take a look at the highlights from the HSCC historic Formula 2 race.
Race director is ready to get us underway. Ben Mitchell leads the field to the line to start the second race at the Classic for historic Formula 2. The Martini that won yesterday takes a decent start, but much quicker around the outside. Matthew Watts, the white, red, blue and purple, March 782, a very quick start. It was a bit of a raggedy run down to the line, but the march of Matthew Watts got a good run. He takes the lead. Ben Mitchell in second place. The orange car in third, number 14. That's Mark Mercer. And then a bit of a squabble behind, but it is Martin Wood who comes out in front with his March 782. There's a Brabham off and another couple of cars getting tangled at the back of the field.
The front of the Brabham, we saw this, and as Martin Haven called it on the screen, the Brabham just ran at the back of another car. I think the other car might have been Julian Stokes's Techno, which was spun out, but the Brabham running with that damaged wing and doesn't look altogether like it's going to stay where it should do.
The nose is coming off, isn't it? And I think actually if he doesn't pull off, he will be given the black and orange flag, because that is about to part company with the car at any moment. And at the side of the track, 24, Nick Pancisi in a 72 March Formula 2 car. What a difference. I mean, look at that, with a slight shovel nose but single wings compared to these cars of just 2 seasons later. Very, very different. And through goes Greg Caton. He is having a cracking race. That is him up to 4th place from 29th on the grid. We might be looking at putting him in a driver of the day context, I think. This is a big drive from him.
And this, the RT1 route being driven, the red car, number 14, by Mark Mercer, and he's in 3rd place.
And right behind him, the white car is not a lap down. That is Greg Caton, who started last on the grid, car number 4. So Greg Caton from 28th place now moves into 3rd. Wow, he's going to come from last on the grid by the end of this lap, as he goes to go the long way around the outside at Stowe, he is very likely to be in second place. Now that is demonstrating why the March 782 was such an influential car. So this car is absolutely flying. Car number 4, white with the BMW M stripes down the side and the yellow helmet of driver Greg Caton. Now, if you'd said to either Greg Caton or Tim De Silva, do you think a podium is likely? Likely? No, probably not, but here we go. He's making the pass for 4th. The car in front of him, the gold car, is in 3rd place. That's Philip Hall. So we could have podium finishers from pole and from the last 2 cars on the grid. I don't think that happens very often. But there is one of our Class A runners, and at the moment, he was at the beginning of the lap in 2nd place in that class, and there was only a second, 1.5 seconds between them. Meanwhile, here is the chaser, Greg Caton, 21 seconds behind Ben Mitchell, and Ben Mitchell responding well. The last lap, Mitchell was actually 1.4 seconds quicker than the chasing Greg Caton. There is De Silva, he's up to 3rd, Hall down to 4th, Ridgway up to 5th, Mercer down to 6th. So Greg Caton, 3 of our final 4 starters on the grid are now in the top half dozen. It's absolutely crazy. There's Greg Caton, but ahead of him, and the checkered flag will be awaiting Ben Mitchell. There is Tim De Silva in 3rd. He's into Stowe. Ben Mitchell was so far ahead of all the action. He takes victory in the 2nd of our historic Formula 2 races, and Ben Mitchell winning both of them in this car, the pretty French-built Martini. So everything is exactly as it was on Saturday? Well, not exactly. From 29th and last on the grid, Greg Caton, a stunning drive to take 2nd. Tim De Silva 3rd from 28th on the grid. Philip Hall finished 4th, ahead of Graham Ridgway, who started in 25th. Mark Mercer and Martin Wood, who started on row 2 of the grid, finishing in 6th and 7th. Some huge drives from the tail of the field in what was a very comfortable win for the Martini driver Ben Mitchell, but was all action for just about everybody else.
A massive entry of 50 near identical cars guaranteed excitement from the historic Formula Juniors. Sunday's race just a little too close for comfort. Saturday's winner Michael O'Brien had to battle electronic problems, but he raced clear of Cameron Jackson and a fast-coming Sam Wilson, who drove from 5th on the grid up into 2nd place ahead of the green and red Lotus. Michael O'Brien claimed the 2nd win of the weekend in his Brabham. Dean Forward's thundering 8-litre McLaren 8F leapt away from his 2-litre rivals at the start of the Thunder Sports race. But it wasn't long before he was out of the running, leaving the battle between Greg Caton in a March 75S, built just up the road from Silverstone in Bicester, and the Chevron of John Burton, who got ahead during the pit stops. A late safety car prevented any further changes. Victory to the 80-year-old in the Chevron.
Well, that just about wraps up the racing here and concludes an awesome long weekend of entertainment both on and off the track. Let's take a quick look back on some of the big moments at this ultimate summer festival.
Princess Diana's Ford Escort RS Turbo.
For £650,000!
Wow, what a 3 days it's been. And I mean, we've had so much fun over the last 3 days, but if you had to pick one, what's been your favourite moment?
Oh, Matt, I mean, there's been so much, but ultimately it's got to be an on-track action. For me, it's the single-seater open-wheel race cars, because that style of racing is just, well, it's phenomenal.
It really is. I think it's got to be the sports cars for me in the Yokohama Trophy. Just cannot beat that era, and it was such good cars.
Okay, so let's say you had to take one car away with you
Any one car from the weekend?
The whole weekend,
Yeah.
I think it would have to be the Lola T70. I've always had my eye on one, and I just think the feeling of being behind the wheel is just epic.
Okay, expensive tastes.
Oh yeah, well,
Obviously. For me, it would have to be that I saw this really beautiful 1923 vintage Bentley. It's going to be 100 years old next year. One of the original TT cars. So yeah, I'd leave here in class.
All right, well, we will both get saving, I think, as a part of that story.
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining us here at the Classic Silverstone. It's been a great 3 days watching some iconic vintage vehicles race around this epic racetrack.
It has indeed, a real celebration of the best of British as well. So thank you ever so much for joining us. And we cannot wait to do it all over again next year. See you then for the Classic.